Hi artists, here's another video. I'm just being super inspired, especially with the whole changeover into, I believe Vesta is in Virgo. I just learned about Vesta. If you haven't heard about Vesta, it's a rock in outer space, not a planet, but it does affect us apparently. And my Virgo is ascendant, so it's all about getting things done. I feel super just empowered and inspired. So one of the things that was really inspiring me today, because it just kept coming up with new work positions coming about and things that still need to be, loose ends that still need to be tied up because of money being owed to my college and blah, blah, blah. You know the story. I wanted to talk about dyscalculia because this is a major influence in my life. And my life is the arts. The arts are my life. And so dyscalculia plays a major part in that life. But first of all, what is dyscalculia? If you're watching this, you probably saw the tag and probably know what it is. You probably have dyscalculia. It's really hard to find too many things on dyscalculia. Although that is increasing, I have noticed. There has been more information provided over the last 5 years, I think. But for those of you who don't, dyscalculia is defined as a failure to achieve in mathematics commensurate with chronological age, normal intelligence, and adequate instruction. It is marked by difficulties with visualization, visual spatial perception, processing and discrimination, counting, pattern recognition, sequential memory, working memory for numbers, retrieval of learned facts and procedures, directional confusion, quantitative processing speed, kinesthetic sequences, and perception of time. And this is courtesy of Dyscalculia Syndrome 1998 by Renee M. Newman, who I had the pleasure of speaking with a couple of months ago. She has created dyscalculia.org. Please check it out. She's really trying to raise awareness about dyscalculia. Hopefully I'll get to work with her at some point. So that is the basic, in her words, and I thought they were pretty accurate, what dyscalculia is. But let's break it down a little bit more. She's got a huge list here. And boy, is it right on for me. Signs of dyscalculia, it says in the classroom, but I think you could also see it in the workplace. Random number and symbol mix-ups when reading, thinking, copying, writing, speaking, remembering. Unreliable memory of numbers, yep, math facts, rules, and procedures. Really anything to do with numbers. Exerts inordinate effort but gets disappointing results. Case in point, when I have to do my taxes, and as a freelancer, it is a nightmare. It takes me weeks to do it all, when for someone it would take a day. And I usually get things wrong, really important things wrong. And in fact, I'm still paying the IRS payment plan for taxes that I messed up in 2013. And of course, I didn't find out about them until 2017 is when I got my notice from the IRS. Yeah. And of course, by then it had accumulated interest. Yeah. Messy. Unable to do mental figuring. So for instance, I just got a job at a restaurant bussing tables, and I keep having to insist I'm only there to bus, but I am there to support you, waiting staff. And the manager already is trying to push me into being a waitress. I will not remember one table to the next. This is a physical difference in the brain. It's not a learning. In fact, I hate the title learning disability because learning has nothing to do with it. In fact, anyone I've ever met who has attention deficit, dyslexia, dyscalculia, we are really great at learning. We're so good at learning, we have taught ourselves because no one else knows how to teach us. So that's my little spiel on learning disabilities. But anyway, uses fingers or marks to calculate. That is a huge hallmark of dyscalculia. Most people can look at, let's say, 6 or 7 dots on a screen and be able to estimate very quickly. There's an estimation that happens with the brain after a certain age where you don't even have to count in your head. With dyscalculia, we have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Quickly experiences frustration, tears, mind freeze, oh yeah, distress, anxiety, panic, trauma, and avoidance when having to do anything with pattern recognition, mathematical anything, making change. This has been, still to this day, if I'm in a college course, it is always misconstrued as math anxiety. But in fact, it's not the chicken before the egg in this case, it's the egg before the chicken. The anxiety comes up because the brain doesn't comprehend and never will. Fun stuff. Struggles with handling money, there we go. Cannot make change or figure tax, tips, discounts, conversions. Poor money planning management, avoids cash. So I will say we are able to, it just takes forever. I'm actually, I am a whiz at making a penny stretch. But I need the time to really sit with a budget, and a budget that is not like any budget that anyone else has created. It's got to be a budget that I've created visually, because visual triggers will throw me off as well. And then I'm really good, if I, have the time. Again, slow processing. Struggles with telling time, tracking and managing time and punctuality. Yes, definitely. I got dyscalculia from my father's side of the family. He would show up an hour early to pick me up every weekend from my mom's. And she never understood why. And I just recently had to tell her that's dyscalculia. She was shocked. So I have to show up super, super early for things, or have numerous alarms going off. Or someone in a TED Talk actually said that she uses particular songs to time her trip. I've done that before. Let's see. I use music to count money, actually. Experiences directional confusion during math tasks. I'm not going to go through all of this because it'll take forever. There's a huge list. But why am I talking about this? Okay, so my experience, if I hadn't been in theater, if I hadn't been in dance classes, if I hadn't been singing my entire childhood, and by the way, I cannot read music as well, I would not be able to understand many of the, what we use, mathematical concepts that we use in just daily life. The big stuff that you need to wait a table and make change and split, bills, that will probably never be something I can do. But the basic necessities, I was able to grasp somewhat because, like for instance, when I count $1 out of quarters, I count it like I'm counting a dance piece. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, 4. 4 quarters make $1. And that's how I got away with it. When I look at the number 3, the symbol for 3, I actually do the movement. Well, actually, that's not 3, but 1, 2, 3, the brackets for the number 3, if you can see it in your head. Or I'll do the movement and I'll understand it. And so it is, but it's only gotten me so far. But also, if it hadn't been for the performing arts, I would not have a job. Literally would not be able to do any work whatsoever because I've tried. I've tried waitressing. I have tried working in an office. I've tried being a dental assistant, which if I had the time to get it down, I would have been really good at because I'm really good with people. I'm very empathetic. I care about what people are going through. I want them to feel safe and comfortable. And I found it really fascinating how teeth were fixed. There was a moment when I almost passed out my first day seeing an extraction, but after that, I mean, I was, I've seen, I've been chairsides with some pretty intense stuff, but it only lasted for a few months because I didn't go fast enough, because I couldn't remember where charts were going. I couldn't remember if so-and-so had been put into the system or not. That's not good. You kind of have to know that too. So, and they wanted me to do medical billing. They'd forget about it. So dance teaching, anything teaching related with performing arts has been my saving grace. And for a while I was severely injured, so I couldn't perform and work as a performer. So again, teaching has been very, very important. But there were moments when I couldn't do any of those things. And when I couldn't do any of those things, and I had rent due, I had to do things to survive. And there are things that many people do, and there's no shaming them. I'm actually going to be very, very open. I'm going to be very vulnerable here to whomever is watching. I had to, for a time in my life in my 20s, I had to strip to make money. And I was horrified at my choices, the lack thereof. It was all that was left to me because I tried taking, I had lost a job. It was 9/11. People were really scared, and I had a student who was an airline pilot. We didn't know where he was. I had another student who worked at the Pentagon. And my employer at the time, it was a ballroom studio, so these were adult students. And my employer at the time he and I were already bumping heads because I couldn't understand how to make sales. There's a lot of ballroom, there's a lot of sales in ballroom. And, Dyscalculia always came into play there as well. I didn't understand how to break down the numbers for people when they wanted to purchase packages of lessons. And for me, also, it was more about the art rather, and I just didn't like pushing people into things that they weren't ready to purchase. But more than anything, it was just not being able to understand the breakdown of the numbers. And so there was already a tension there. There was some sexual harassment as well, I'm not going to lie. I was young and naive and didn't realize that how I was feeling was actually a red flag. But anyway, 9/11 came, and my students, there was no communication going on. I mean, you all know. And I wanted to go to the Red Cross and donate blood. And he said, well, if you go, don't ever come back. I had to go. So I went, and I was fired that day after about 5 or 6 years at the studio, being top teacher and everything. And I had to get another job, so I got a job at this little deli. They really specialized in making breakfast. They had the big breakfast rush. And they eventually had to fire me because I kept making so many mistakes on the register. So the only thing that was left to me was work at a strip club. So again, any of you who work in the sex industry, as long as you're consenting and you are not being objectified, although most times in the United States you're being objectified as a woman, but if you're not, I don't see any shame in it. It's just not something that I enjoyed at all. I hated every moment of it. I felt like a part of my soul died. And it was all because of this challenge of dyscalculia that has, to this day, when I speak with math professors at my college, hardly any of them have ever heard of dyscalculia. There's no education on this. Everyone's heard of dyslexia. Hardly anyone has ever heard of dyscalculia. So I'm hoping by doing this video that will get out to people, that we need to talk about this. There are probably more people with dyscalculia than we realize. I think one of these TED Talks, I even heard that this woman was saying that she met someone who was in jail for shoplifting, and he only shoplifted because he had dyscalculia and he didn't understand how to do the money exchange. So this is a huge problem. I, again, am very blessed. I had the performing arts. So eventually I got back into teaching. I got back into performing, and I was good. And it was still a bumpy road, and up until recently, I've really had a hard time finding my place in the world when it comes to making a steady living. I'm still a freelancer. Doors are opening up, especially with this show, to really make my own business. I had a wedding dance business before COVID, so I know that will open back up when everything else opens back up. But, I relied on even my personal romantic relationships as a way to keep me safe, because I didn't know how I would make enough to take care of myself. And it was a subconscious thing. Now I know. Now I'm very cognizant of it, and I'm making it a goal in my life that the next relationship I'm in, I'm not going to just move in with the person because I can't pay my rent. That's done. And, I live in New York City. I work in and around New York City. And one thing that I've learned from trying to leave is just don't leave. Stay in a metropolis where the arts are really, really vibrant, and hopefully will be again, so that there's ample work available. Because I have tried to leave the metropolis of Manhattan, Brooklyn, and tried to make a living elsewhere because I love nature so much, and I just crash and burn. I've been semi-homeless before because of this, and I broke my foot last year. I joke that last year was my personal pandemic, but it really was. I broke my foot, and of course I couldn't teach, so I was completely out of work, had to live on friends' couches, some people I didn't even know, which I was put in some precarious situations, and what I perceived as dangerous situations, potentially dangerous situations. Some were just friends that would just here, stay with us a month, and then the rest of the time I was in my car with my boot on my foot on the dashboard and wondering if I was ever going to get out of this situation. Things turned around again, got my foot working, got to perform at the United Nations as a dancer and a singer. And this whole year, even with the pandemic, has been blessing after blessing after blessing. So if you're going through a really tough patch with, with anything, but especially with dyscalculia, it can turn around. Just keep. One thing that's been key is being honest with any place I apply for a job, and insisting that they really truly understand that my gifts are different and they are valuable. And if you want to use me as an employee, here is what I can offer. I always say that I have dyscalculia, so I'm don't have me waitress, but I'm a great teacher because I understand how to break things down into so many little different ways of seeing the lesson. I never berate a student for not understanding something because I've been there. Dyscalculia, the gifts. Let's go to the gifts of dyscalculia. What I was just saying, dyscalculia has really informed me as a teacher. And being a teacher, your students inform you as a performer. And it's just all this beautiful cycle. I'm not, at this time in my life, certified to teach specializing with learning disabilities, but I'm probably more qualified than most that are. So I will make sure that if I have a student in my class, I hope that seems like they have some kind of learning disability, that I give them the time that they need to really grasp the information. And I really try to tap into the joy of what we're doing, because that's what it's all about anyway. Dyscalculia has given me that level of empathy. I'm so grateful for my empathy. And when I go over a script, over a piece of music, I have such deep feelings, such deep emotional reserves to pull from. And because of the situations that I've been forced in my life into, some where I thought I would never make it out, I now have such a huge tool belt when I go into my next role. And I've joked a couple of times with my therapist that, I could get the Oscar at this point. Maybe I should go for that. Which, my goal, of course, is to start performing again when things open back up, because of everything that I've gone through, especially this last year with the foot break and being semi-homeless. I just don't want to waste any more time, and I don't want to listen to anyone that says you're too old now. BS. Bull. Bull. Another gift of Dyscalculia. There's so many, and of course when I try to think of them on the spot, I can't. But just Dyscalculia has given me the ability to see the details in an artistic piece that I don't think I would have if I didn't have dyscalculia, because with dyscalculia, you can't see the big picture. You have to see the little details before you can get to the big picture. And that's really great for understanding a character, for understanding a story, for understanding a picture. One more really huge thing, I am a kinetic learner. So I believe on this list, let's see, I'm going to find it. It was so right on for me. Experiences directional confusion. And it says during math tasks. It's in other things too, like going to a dance call. I go to a singer's call because I do have the pipes for being a singer. It's really what I was born to do. And then they look at my resume and say, oh, you dance too? And then they put me with the beginner dancers, and I look so killer because I've got the time to do the choreography. When I have rehearsal times, rehearsal upon rehearsal, I will get intricate choreography. You betcha. I have no problem. But when I go to a dance call, dancers will be going this way. I'll be going this way. I have hit many a poor, beautiful dancer at Steps on Broadway because I was going the wrong direction. So that's really funny to me. But, there are ways to work around it. Like I said, if you're a singer and you're wanting to do a musical theater production, don't go to the dance call. Go to the singer's call. They'll look at your resume and say, oh, you went to ballet conservatory? You do aerials? And then you're all set. So that's my talk on dyscalculia. I would love to get your comments if you are also working with the challenge of dyscalculia or any kind of other learning disabilities. Let's communicate. Let's build a community, and maybe there will be another talk on this later. Who knows what's on the road ahead? Okay. Thank you so much, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.